Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Chat with CHAP, and I am your host, Ginger Wade. Welcome to the show today. Today we're going to talk about using the public school. It's a very interesting concept. And of course, as always, whenever you use the government service, there's strings attached. So we will be getting into that in just a few minutes. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you that we are looking for your stories, your CHAP stories. How have you been blessed by CHAP this year? Have you come to the convention? Have you used a resource that really changed your homeschooling experience or really blessed you? We are looking for those stories because we want to share them. We want to share them with our community, and we are going to be doing a Giving Tuesday video that shares all those wonderful stories. So get them to me pronto because we are going to be working on that project this weekend, and we'd love to be able to share your story. So you can write into staff@chaponline.com and send us your stories. You can message us, inbox us here on Facebook if you'd like to, or use the contact form at chaponline.com. Okay. Let's jump into using the public school. So recently, I know you've been watching the videos because there's a lot of watches about overreach and overcompliance. What is it that the law really says? What is it that we are required to do? I forgot to turn off my heater. I'm going to do that. It probably sounds loud to you guys. What are we required to do with the school? What do they get to have from us? If you are not using the school for anything and you are just filing to homeschool, all you give them is the unsworn declaration or the affidavit and your objectives. That is all. That is all they get if you are just a homeschooler and you're not using the public school at all. However, that does change once you start using the school district for services. Okay, so we are allowed to use the school district for different things, but it does affect our homeschool freedom. So according to law, homeschoolers may participate in sports, music, theater, and up to a quarter of the day, the school day in public school, and still be considered a homeschooler. So your child could take a class there, or do band, play any kind of sports, things like that. You are allowed to use it legally. So there were different years that these things happened. In 2006, homeschoolers were initially given access to the extracurriculars. That's like the sports, the music, choruses, symphony. You could participate in theater productions, anything that was considered extracurricular. And that was in section 511. Could be clubs too. It said including but not limited to clubs, musical ensembles, athletics, and theatrical production. So it's basically extracurriculars at that point in time. What ended up happening though is that people would say that the districts would say that you could not participate because they were considered co-curricular. So like kids could not go in and be in band because there was something about it where they weren't calling it extracurricular. It was co-curricular and it was part of the school day. So no, your student is not allowed to be part of the school band. Now I know like here in Lancaster County, we have lots of opportunities for kids to do things outside of public school. There's the Lancaster Academy for Performing Arts. There's Encore, different places to do theater and music things so you wouldn't have to use the school. But I know there's other places where that's really hard. That stuff doesn't exist. You can create your own, but that's why people were looking to have access into the public school, just in case you were wondering. So they would like their kids to have these opportunities, and it's hard to do them, say, on your own. So schools were not including homeschoolers, saying that, say, band was co-curricular. Now, obviously, sports are all extracurricular. It's not during the school day. It's after school. They couldn't, cut out the homeschool students that way, but they could for, band and courses and stuff like that. So, in 2023, in order to deal with this so that the homeschoolers wouldn't be kept out from being part of these activities at a public school, there was a change written in the law. It says beginning with the 2023-24 school year and each school year thereafter, the school district of residence shall develop policies and procedures to permit a child who is enrolled in a home education program to participate on the same basis as other students enrolled in the school district in any co-curricular activity that merges extracurricular activities with a required academic course, including, but not limited to, band or orchestra, and must permit, so band and orchestra was the big thing, it was listed specifically, and must permit a child who is enrolled in a home education program to participate in academic courses, art class, math class, whatever, equaling up to at least 1/4 of the school day for full-time students pursuant to the policies and procedures of the school district of residence on the same basis as other students enrolled in the school district, yada, yada, yada. So in 2023, homeschoolers were given access to public school stuff up to 1/4 of your school day. Now, I have other things to say about that. But what that did was enable homeschool students to participate in the band or orchestra where they were being excluded before because it was called a co-curricular course. That's what was going on. That's why that happened. So now we do have access up to the public school for up to 1/4 of a student's day. Now, I will share. I do not personally think it is wise to be using the public school for classes. I just think there's a lot of questionable content. I think there's a lot of questionable relationships. And I don't think it's necessarily helpful to the growth of the student. It also starts to erode the parent-led, privately funded ideal in homeschooling that we uphold. So where you do have that option, and yes, sure, use it for band. I totally get it. But like other classes and things, I would think long and hard about putting my kid in for other things. Even so, man, the influence and the peer pressure that comes with being in that environment is no joke. It is no joke. Firsthand experience with our homeschool and dealing with some of that. So if you think about even, your kid wants to do musical theater. Well, sometimes the musical theater content is like, it's either like questionable or it's like, that's just dumb. Like, I don't want my kid to participate in that. That's just dumb. So fortunately, like where we are, there's a group called Encore. Spectacular theatrical performances. Lancaster Academy of Performing Arts does well. The group that I direct does well. So there, you can create your own. And there are people who are interested. So you wouldn't have to utilize what the high school is doing. So you really have to weigh experience, content, what is the best thing for my kid, right? So all of that aside, homeschoolers do now have access to public school classes, given that you are willing to bend to their schedule. Okay, so that includes the snow days, that includes delays, that includes vacations. You might not be able to do vacations when you want to do vacations because your kid has to be at the public school. So think about block scheduling. They don't have their stuff on a regulated, it's not always Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2, right? You might need to go in. This week it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Next week it's Tuesday, Thursday. Next week it's, and it's, that's hard. That's hard to live by. But if you want that service, you need to be willing to sacrifice that portion of your freedom in order to get that service. You know what I'm saying? So you have to weigh what is best for your family. As per the law, the school has the right to set their own policies and procedures equal to what they require for fully enrolled students. So if you choose to use that class, you will need to follow their policy for the kids who are there all the time, because that's how you get to use their stuff. So that's the thing. That's the slippery slope. That's the give and take. You're losing some freedoms when you're using their services. So in a situation where your child is taking a class, it could be band, but it could be something else, art, math, history, whatever. Whatever the teacher decides is your student's grade, you need to keep. It will be a legal portion of their transcript. So you can't take the grade that the teacher gives and change it because you don't think you agree with the teacher. No, you took the class in the school, you take the grade that they give. So that's another freedom that you're giving up in your child's education when using the public school. So if you are doing a sport or an activity or anything else like that, and they require a grade report, you have to give a grade report. I have a friend whose kids play baseball, basketball, football, and their school district wanted a grade report every single week. That just sounds tiresome to me. I have been super blessed with my school district. We do use softball, but never had to do any of the extra stuff. So I'm hoping that continues to hold true. Well, knock on wood. But the school has every right to require it, to request it, because it's their offering. It's what they are offering to you. So they get to set their rules. They get to set their rules. They get to set their, their curricular activities. If you want to use it, you have to abide by the rules. So if you don't like that, and you don't want to give grades, and you don't want to give immunization exemptions, or you don't want to do what they say you need to do, well, then your option is to start your own. And so that's where things like the Encore stage productions have started. The Lancaster group had started. I started my own drama thing. The kids wanted it. There was a desire for it. There was someone willing to do it, and it got off the ground. And you could do amazing things. You can do amazing things on your own. So don't be afraid to start it. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So you do it for a year or two and you say, you know what? This is not working. I'm going to stop doing it. And that's okay. We had a homeschool soccer group that ran for a while, and I actually don't think that it's running anymore, but that's okay. We have friends who have a really great basketball league that they're in. They have a homeschool basketball team, and they get to go play all kinds of schools and in tournaments and stuff. That is fabulous. They have a wonderful coach. And that's the kind of stuff that you can do. You just ask around and talk to people and see if there is other interest. So you are able to create sports teams like that on your own. Besides the fact that there's all kinds of travel teams that you can join now. And some kids don't even play high school sports anymore because they're doing travel teams. You don't even really need the school for sports. Or you can go do other things that aren't team things, like go do skating, go do horseback riding, skiing, hiking. There are communities that have their own bands and choirs. Go participate in those things. And most of those, the community bands and stuff, are going to be multiple ages. So you're going to be interacting with many varied ages and experiences, which could be a better experience than going to the school and doing the school band. So that is just how it is. If you want to use the public school in your homeschool, then that clear-cut line of you only get this paperwork and I don't need to give you anything else, that actually ends. Once you start using the public school for things, then if they request it, and they might not, but if they request things, you need to give it in order to be able to participate in what they are offering. So that is what I have to share regarding using the public school for classes and sports and music and those types of things. The other thing I wanted to talk about was CTCs, which is the Career and Technology Centers. They are kind of, randomly placed all over the place, and we used to call them VOTEC when I was in school. That situation is a little bit different. According to the law, homeschool students should according to the law, have equal footing to get into a CTC. So you can go and apply to CTC as a homeschool student, and you are supposed to be given the same opportunities to use the CTC as any public school student would be. However, I have been in meetings and conversations where parents have been told that in order to get the course that they want at the CTC, they are going to have to register as a public school student in order to be guaranteed to be able to get into that. So say there's a little clause in the law that kind of gives the CTC directors the right to discriminate, really, and how they want to handle popular courses. So say your student wants to do something at CTC that everybody wants to do. It's the popular thing and everybody wants to be in it. The CTC situations that I have been involved with holds those positions specifically for public school students. And your homeschool student is not guaranteed to get into that popular line of study. Is this right? No, I do not think it is right. In my opinion, if you apply early and get your name in there, you get on the list, right? If you're late to the game, then it's like first come, first serve, right? That is not how things are necessarily functioning. So if that is your situation, it is a discrimination. In that case, it is a discrimination issue. If you are running into that, please let HSLDA or us know. There is a mom who brought it up. We had a meeting with a senator. We had a meeting with a representative about it to make them aware, and they're aware of the clause that is causing a problem in the law. But there's one squeaky wheel that's not going to accomplish much. If there's a bunch of squeaky wheels, that's when we're going to accomplish stuff. So if you are out there, you know someone who's using CTC, or you're trying to use CTC and you're running up against this similar type of discrimination where your student is not being guaranteed a spot because they're letting it fill with public school students first, let us know. Let us know. The more people who are outspoken about it and let others know what's going on, the more senators and representatives' heads we can turn about this issue, the sooner it will be possible to get that changed. So I encourage you to talk to your representative if you're having issues. Just make them aware of what's going on. Like I said, homeschoolers are supposed to have equal access to the CTCs. In some cases, and you have to get all of your information correct, but in some cases, that's not the case. So like in these popular courses, it is possible, you'd have to look into it, but it is possible that those courses are being held just for public school students. And I know a number of people who have registered their children as public school students for their senior year in order to get the position they wanted at the CTC, which, that just irks me, right? You homeschool the whole way through, and then all of a sudden the senior year, that just gets my goat. So I don't really love that situation. There are other, if you're looking at CTC, another thing you should consider, I know someone who's going to Thaddeus Stevens as a dual enrolled student, and that is really helping them with possibly going to Thaddeus Stevens after that and cutting their time as a post-high school student there in half. So that's something to look into. Look into a trade school, and maybe they'll let you dual enroll, and then you don't have to go to the CTC. You can just dual enroll at a trade school, and then that's going to even help you moving forward after school. So many things to consider. You can also talk to people about apprenticing and just avoid the CTC thing altogether. But anyway, I just wanted to make you guys aware of your access to the public school and your access to the CTC, and then the strings that are attached and the possible issues that do arise. But like I said, if you have any questions or any problems, do not hesitate to write into us, ask us. If you can get connected with HSLDA, if it's a legal issue, and we are here to support you and help you with all of that. So thanks for tuning in today. I just do want to remind you that I need your stories. If you have a CHAP story, some way, even if it's a tiny little one little sentence, I love CHAP's resources because, or whatever, something you want to share with people about why you love CHAP. I would love to hear about it. I would love to read about it here on the show. And next Tuesday is November 4th, and that is Election Day. Please get out and vote. Please get out and vote. Know who the candidates are. Know what's going on. We have a school board thing going on where we are. There's judges across the state. You got to pay attention to that, everybody. Pay attention to what is going on at the ballot box. Get out there and vote. Take your kids with you. Make it a field trip. Make it a civics field trip. Hey, this is how our country works. This is what we do as citizens. We go, we participate, get to know people, get to know, get involved, do the door knocking and drop stuff off. It's great volunteer things to do. You're welcome, Ashley. I'm so glad that this was helpful to you. And like I said, if you have any other questions or need to be helped out in any other way, just let me know, and we'll be happy to help you out. So yeah, have a great day. I can't believe it's the end of October already. This is crazy. Enjoy the sunshine. It is so lovely out. I know it's cool, but it is lovely out. And yeah, send us your stories and get out and vote tomorrow. And we will see you next time. Take care. Bye.